using music to teach the whole child, the body, heart, and
to learn new skills and to build new acumen.
As the year goes on, I get closer and closer. We can always touch. It's not.
When you get that, then you get a lot more excited about being around children.
Normal, in a sense, with all of the changes.
Or how you can transform your own business.
On developing the whole child, socially, emotionally.
Traditional route of teaching young people
how to set boundaries, because this little victim here needs to know how.
Very well. So they use that term.
I sometimes expanded them to go up to 40 minutes.
All of those things in education, of course, those things are important.
Oxygen is going to our heads and our lungs.
The affirmations in the mirror for about 2 minutes.
What did you do in order to get yourself going?
This is amazing.
Happens what seems to happen quite a bit in our school.
For the families to come, and they
is that really for the child, or is it for us, for the parents?
and doing new things for our brain.
Who's orchestrating everything in this universe?
Which parts of the brain are used?
Based on that map that we have.
See you with your smiling face.
Atul, thank you very much for allowing me to join you. Namaste to you, my friends.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marianne Harmon, and with me today is Kathleen Friend, Dr. Kathleen Friend, who has become my friend over the last year. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you, Dr. Kathleen.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. It is such a pleasure. It's always such a pleasure to come on and talk on this early childhood global mastermind group and to speak with you, Marianne. And I want to give a shout out to Atul, who I think may be in the background listening live. And I just want to give a big shout out to really both of you and the work that you've done over the past, I don't know if it's just been a year or a little over a year,
Yeah.
with these shows every week and bringing people and managing a Facebook group and really connecting people globally all over the world who would otherwise not be able to speak. And it just gives me hope for, I'm just feel like we're all in this together, and it's just a wonderful avenue for connection. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's a beautiful thing to say. I'm glad you feel that way. I have pretty much the same feelings. Well, before we get started, let's let people know a little bit about who you are. So Kathleen Friend is a child psychiatrist, children's author, musician, and heart rhythm meditation teacher, currently living in Tucson, Arizona in the US. Her mission is to expand the paradigm of child psychiatry to embrace a holistic view of mind, body, and spirit. She is the author of 2 children's books, The Greatness Chair and Sarah in the Greatness Chair, as well as a soon-to-be published guidebook for parents and teachers called Lessons in the Greatness Chair, Bringing Out the Best in Children and Their Grown-ups. And I think that's pretty much part of what we are going to talk about today, bringing out the best through learning about navigating the emotions of the holidays, and I did spell it DAZE on purpose. When we were discussing this at first, we were saying that not everyone celebrates the same holidays, and that this time of year is, not all about Christmas, although that seems to take over a lot of the festivities. But whether or not people are celebrating the holiday, everyone does get that fast-paced emotion, go, go, go feeling that is happening. And whenever there's a special holiday or an event coming up, parents can be heard saying things like, I just don't know, or he just really just started misbehaving, or I can't understand why she's not listening to me. But is it really the children, Kathleen? Or are they picking up on adult stress?
Oh gosh, well, that's a great question. That's a great question. Um, I think that it really behooves us as we talk about this. In fact, when Marianne first asked me to give the talk, I thought to myself, well, my background is a different background, and in my traditions, the holidays aren't that stressful. But she's right. There's this atmosphere and intensity with these holidays. But I really just want to start and end this talk and just kind of bookend it with this idea that regardless of which holiday we're celebrating, Christmas, Hanukkah, Diwali, Kwanzaa. I'm sure I've missed some that I don't know about, but it's really there's this common theme about going from darkness to light. And for most of us, at least in the northern hemisphere, we are in the time of the most darkness, and all of these celebrations do focus on light. So I just want to remind people that when the going gets tough, just think about everything you could. What the whole idea here is to bring more light. so to answer your question, yeah, the kids are picking up on adult stress. Absolutely. And regardless of which holiday, I mean, the holidays come with a long list of shoulds and obligations. And that causes many, if not most, adults to feel stress and overwhelm. And I have to, without shame or blame, it does fall on us adults to manage it and to set the emotional tone for the children. Now, what's interesting is I was preparing this talk, I thought about different types of children. Now, some children absolutely thrive on the excitement of the holidays, and all that brings. And you know what? They manage that energy well, and they're just excited. Other children, it's a total overwhelm situation. And then, of course, people fall in between. But, there's a lot of children on the spectrum who and this talk isn't specifically focused on that, but the children who are on the spectrum of autism, whether it's more mild or more severe, this is a particularly challenging situation because even something simple as a Christmas tree with flickering lights can be an overstimulation. Now, does that mean you don't have a Christmas tree? I don't know, but I mean, I'm just bringing it out that we've got a whole spectrum of what children can handle from a stimulation and intensity point of view. And so I will tell you at the end of this talk, we're going to work our way there with some real on the ground practical advice. So if you don't have a pen and pencil, or pen, pencil, and paper, or however you take notes on your phone or these days, you might want to get that if you're inclined to make the list with me at the end, so that when you're in the heat of the moment, you've got something you can look at.
Good idea. Thank you. So thank you so much. And this is what's really great about Dr. Kathleen's talks is she organizes them well and has them set up that she's not just giving you information, talking about it, but she's going to give you some practical advice that you could put to use immediately. So I think that our next question here is, what do you think causes parents to get so worked up? And I know that before we got on, one of the things that you brought into it that I hadn't thought of was that besides the regular stress, we do still have the COVID cloud over us. So when we are getting so worked up about these things, How does that translate to the child's behavior?
Well, Marianne, is it okay if I back you up a little?
Sure.
I'm going to back up just a little into that question because I want to I think most of us know what stress is, but I want to just put a little fine point on it because there's a new book that just came out that I think a lot of people are going to be reading by Dr. Brene Brown. I think she's well known to a lot of people. She's a professor and researcher in Texas who's written many books about emotions. And she just came out with a new book called Atlas of the Heart. And so I really wanted to bring out a few points from that book. So, we think of stress as, sometimes we think of stress as specific events that happen. These are stressful events. Um, Another lens to look at stress, we look at, well, what's happening in our bodies and our nervous systems. Are we in fight, flight, or freeze? And we look at stress from that physiologic point of view. But I wanted to read what Brene Brown said about this because I just thought it was a nice other angle to put in. And I'm just going to read from. She said, for her, stress is when we evaluate environmental demand as beyond our ability to cope successfully. So this includes elements of unpredictability, uncontrollability, and feeling overload. So the main thing in her point she's saying is that it's really our emotional reaction to the events. And that's tied in to our mental assessment about whether we can cope or not. So even if a situation is very overwhelming and stressful, if we think in our minds that I may not know how exactly, but I can cope with this, that gives a big leg up to managing, through. So I just really wanted to highlight that point. And she also talked about, trying to parse out all these words because we use a lot of words interchangeably. So I'm just going to pull out one other word, and that is anxiety, the word anxiety. And that can look a lot like stress, but actually anxiety, what happens in our body, it's kind of the same thing that happens when we're excited or very passionate. We don't think of those two things together usually, but actually for some people, it goes back to the, kind of the kids I was talking about at the beginning. So for some people who feel this intense energy and stimulation in their body, even heart racing or short of breath, for some people, they label that as excitement and it becomes a positive experience. And then, other people have more of a tendency to go very quickly to labeling that as anxiety, negative, and I can't cope. So there is some power here in how we choose to label these emotional states. Now, there are truly anxiety-provoking situations, and I don't want to pretend that we want to talk away all of them. But I think there's a lot of gray area here where we can, what if we, and in fact, Marianne, you'll appreciate this as a musician. When I was in music school, I used to get performance anxiety. I'm a singer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so when I would have to do my juries, which you know what juries are,
Yes.
it's about the most intensely anxiety-provoking situation when you go out and you sing or play your instrument, and all these professors are sitting there with their tablets, judging you and writing down, and like you're supposed to be all relaxed. Well, anyway, I used to be incredibly anxious, and my heart would beat out of my chest. And I remember another musician telling me, well, just think about that as being excitement instead of anxiety. Now, I gotta confess, I wasn't able to really quite grasp onto that idea at the time, but here it is coming back again in Brene Brown's book. about how we can label some of that anxiety as excitement. And we could do that for the kids. Even if we can't totally for ourselves, we can also retranslate some of this for the children about how, gosh, you're just so excited about everything. And again, just using our language to see what's, going right in the situation. So that was my little piece. Do you want to say anything before I go to answering your other question?
I think I'm going to let you go on a roll, but I do want to just say one thing here. For some reason, the comments are not showing here, but a tool did post hi to you and thanked you for what you had to say. So yeah, he is watching.
Yeah.
So yes, just you were, I think you broke my question into two parts.
I did. Is there anybody I should be saying hello to in the chat?
No, that's why I have it open on the other one so that I can see. But yeah, Liz is watching also from San Francisco.
Hi,
Liz is one of the most loyal watchers, and she's such a good supporter of everyone and what they do, and a fantastic person. So she is watching and has said hello too.
And I tell you, Liz could be in my seat, probably saying everything I'm saying. She's such a positive force in all the work she does.
Yes, she is. And I don't know, Tae Lee Hoon is watching. I don't know where Tae Lee, and I hope I'm saying his or her name properly. We are glad to have you here. Wonder, where are you signing in from? If you can put that in the chat, we'd love to know. So Kathleen, please continue on, because like the causes that get parents to get so worked up.
Okay.
And I think as a parent, for me, was that I know that childhood is precious and childhood goes by so quickly. And I always wanted to make sure that I was doing everything to give the best childhood experience for the holidays. And that if I missed something or forgot something and, didn't bake the favorite cookies that they look forward every year. And I can remember times where it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm still baking because I forgot to make that one batch. And we put that stress on ourselves. And then we're tired the next day and we're saying that it's the child that is grouchy.
Yeah, that totally. So, there's a long list of things that cause parents to get worked up. So, first of all, and some of these overlap, and you've hinted at some of them. First of all, there's the should list, right? The should list. Now those can be activities like you mentioned, like baking the favorite cookies. I should send a card to everybody. I should get a present for so-and-so, and I have no idea what they like. I should attend this function. One of the biggest is I should be happy. I should be cheerful. And you know what? You may not be feeling that. And there's a lot of pressure to feel the joy of the season. Now, I certainly hope that you are able to feel that. I mean, at least some element of light, going from darkness to light. However, not everyone feels that way, and certainly not on demand. And so then, you might feel guilty or like a fake. So, so there's this should list, and these expectations are extraordinary about what things look like, and then sometimes our perfectionism can get in there. That can get tied in too. Like, if I don't do this, I'm just not a good person. I'm not worthy. I might feel shame. What are people going to think? Then there's the whole comparison thing. comparison. And, Brene Brown, I love this book, this Atlas of the Heart, because she talks about comparison. And I'm going to read her because it's a very natural tendency. So first of all, if you're comparing yourself to other people, just rest assured that's normal. We all do it. It's a question of how we manage it, really, whether a yes or no, whether we do it. And I'm just going to read what she wrote about comparison because I just thought it added a nice layer. She said that her definition is comparison is the crush of conformity from one side and competition from the other. It's trying to simultaneously fit in and stand out. I don't know, that was powerful when I read that. To simultaneously fit in, but to stand out. That's a lot of pressure. So, so although we may not have a lot to say about whether our tendency is to compare ourselves, we always have an opportunity to choose how we're going to respond to it. And, these are well-worn words to be kind to yourself and compassionate and
right.
A break. And I will tell you that the COVID is adding a whole, like everything I just said comes with the holidays period, the should list, the expectations, the comparisons, the, and the having to deal with family, yeah. And maybe you don't talk to, Uncle Joe all year. I mean, suddenly the family's put in the spotlight and you've got to deal with people who may be complicated for you, or you may want to be with people and that's your family and it's absolutely not possible. COVID is added to a whole nother layer about, is it okay to be with our family? I think last year it might have been clearer. I think it was a little, for me, I think it was clearer what the yeses and the nos were. But I think there's a lot more gray area this year, with more people having been vaccinated or not, or how people have sorted it out for themselves. So that, there's a lot of loneliness. I mean, I think there's always loneliness that comes with holidays. But I think it's accentuated with the COVID and added a whole new dimension to this.
Yeah. And I think that what's important this time of year when there's a lot going on is to, while we are adding in the extras, we also keep the normalcy going. And so sometimes we need to let go of some of the things we might normally do to replace them with something that we would do for the holidays, like taking a ride to go look at lights if it's very Christmassy in your area, right? So this is something that you might do, and it might be a school night. And normally after dinner, you just take your bath, get ready and go to bed. But now instead, we're going to do something different. And we're going to stay up a little bit later. And we're going to go out and we're going to look at some Christmas lights, and knowing as a parent that might do something with the personality. But I think that it's the way we approach it. If we're saying, oh, now, just promise so that if we do this, you're not going to be grouchy in the morning. And that when I go to wake you up, we tell them all these things that they might not have thought of. And, right? They might not have thought, oh yeah, I might be extra tired in the morning. But if we don't bring that up and we ourselves act like this is just something special we're going to do, and we might get home a little bit later, but that's okay. You're still going to get a good night's sleep. And tomorrow, maybe after school, we'll do something else that's special, It's the way we approach it.
Mayor, I love what you said so much because that's going to be on my list. You remember I said we're going to give a list? Okay. Making a list. We're making a list and checking
it twice.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let me start with that. That wasn't number one on my list, but let's do it.
Well, if I may, there's a friend of mine that Jay Van Hook just signed on to see what else I am doing. And Kathleen, she's a grandmother for the first time this year. So her Christmas is going to be a little bit different too, right? There's always some occasion that changes and shakes up our routines. So
yeah. So let's make that list. Number one, create new traditions.
Yes.
That's exactly what you were talking into.
I can put that, maybe I can get them listed here for people. Go ahead.
All right. So that means we're going to have to use, and I think that we forget that. Of course, we don't want to lose our traditions, but there's no reason that we can't continue to grow and create new ones, especially in this time where things have been modified with COVID, or people who are, can't get together with family. Just because you can't do what you're used to doing does not stop you from trying new things. And I think going out and looking at the Christmas lights that's a great suggestion. So number two, how much time do we have?
Just you keep going. Don't let time worry you. We're fine.
Okay, number two. We're on number two. Manage your expectations.
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one for everybody.
You've got to be, you got to be ruthless with yourself on this. This is a warrior. This is a warrior approach. You need to manage your expectations. You are not going to want to do this. Okay? Most people, I don't want to generalize really, but most people really don't want to do that. They don't want to rein it in because they should do. But you've got to manage the expectations. And the better you are at managing your own expectations, the easier it will be for the children, because they will just kind of grow into what you've set out. So, and I want to, number three, I'm going to lose track of the numbers, I'm sure, but number three, given what Brene Brown said about stress, I want to just encourage this mindset of, I can cope. Now, does that mean you can cope? No. It just means you're going to put out this intention, even if you're clueless about how. Just put it in the mix, like give yourself this message. I have the ability to cope. You may want to call back on situations in your past in your life where you thought you couldn't cope, and yet you did it. So if you've got some, use that. Go back and say, I remember when I didn't think I could get through, but I did. Use that to build your strength. Number four, set small goals. Chunk it down. Every person in the world who talks about goal setting will tell you the same thing. Make the steps achievable. Make them small. So you feel successful. Chunk it down. Number five, pace yourself. That's a little bit like making small goals.
Wow.
Pace yourself. You're in it. It's there's a bunch of weeks here. It doesn't go, it's not just one day. Maybe there's a day where you take a break and say, not going to do this today.
Even though it's on the list?
Yep. Yes. The list, I'm giving you a different kind of list, right? This is the different, Gosh, now I'm giving you a should list. Oh dear. Well, I hope nobody thinks this is another I gotta do this list. You know what? With any of my suggestions, it's like, take it or leave it. Take what works, discard the rest. Maybe there's one thing on this list I'm giving you that's gonna that will resonate. Work with that. You don't have to use these all. Okay. Learn to say no without guilt.
Ah, that's a hard one.
I know I hate that one. But healthy, that goes, Now here's the thing, that's about a healthy boundary, and that's something we do want to model for our children.
Absolutely.
When we're feeling overwhelmed, if we can show our children, going through these how we chunk it down or manage our own feelings, we're modeling it for the kids. And that's so important. That goes back to your first thing about how the adults have to be the ones to set the tone. And so, we can talk to our kids about these steps, about what we're doing. We can be transparent. We don't have to tell them everything. We don't want to burden them, but they can be teaching moments.
Absolutely.
And we can be transparent about it. All right. Now, whatever number we're up to, I don't know. Self-care, overused words, I know. What does self-care mean? That's going to be individual. What revives you? Maybe it's really going and just doing a 5-minute meditation. Maybe it's as simple as putting your hands on your heart and taking 2 breaths. I mean, it doesn't have to be a big deal. I like that. No is a complete sentence.
I don't know who said that.
I like that.
I was just going to say, can we stop a moment so you can comment on that? I don't know who said that. If you could please tell us who you are, we would like that. That's very, very interesting thing to say. Yes, it is a complete sentence. It says so much. And, when we talk about this was something the other day that was very hard for me with you. The learning to say no. And the other day you asked me if I had time to come on with you. And that was so hard for me.
Was it?
Yes, because I wanted to find the time because this is important. Yet I knew that, and it coincides, learning to say no without guilt and self-care go hand in hand. Because if I wouldn't have said no to you, I wouldn't have been able to take that time I set aside for myself so that I would be in a good mindset to do what I was doing the next day, which was a very special event for me, and prepare. And that was hard, but I did it. I apologized.
And you know something? I got to be honest with you. When you said no to me, actually, well, I'm just who I am. That was perfectly fine. What happens for me, and maybe this happens for others, I hope, that sometimes when people say no, sometimes it feels better than other times, I admit, but it helps me. It sets a boundary for me too. And for me, that settles me. It's like, oh, she doesn't have time. You know what? Plan B. And then I just went and did what I needed to do. It was fine. It gave me a way to focus. So other people setting boundaries helps give, and this is true for kids too. Kids so desperately need that boundary and structure. And they can, you believe it or not, kids can relax into it. They feel, they feel safer and all those things.
Now somebody's saying oxygen on yourself first.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and that's the same thing like on an airplane. If you don't get that oxygen on yourself first, you're not going to be able to help your child or anyone else you're traveling with.
Now, you guys might be wondering, like, here I am, a child psychiatrist. Why am I talking about the adults so much? But, everything flows downhill. And so I've got just a couple more things on the list. Then I'm going to talk about things you can do with the kids.
Okay.
Whatever number we're on, use humor.
Yes.
When all else fails and you have no idea what to do or say, take a deep breath
and be funny.
And just, you can just be funny and just say, I don't know, I don't have anything right off the top of my head here, but sometimes using humor, some people react badly to that, but I mean, it can sometimes backfire, I know, but a lot of times it just breaks up the tension. And I think if you use humor, and people know that you actually will come back, let's just say there really is something distressing and you need to address it. As long as people don't feel dissed by your humor, it breaks up the tension, but you can always go back in, and you don't want people to feel like you've completely dismissed their concerns or feelings or anything with your humor. But it can be a great way to just break the pattern. And, so, and then of course I'm going to say, look for what's going right in the situation in any moment. That's my shtick. We got to put that in. Every moment, every single moment is an opportunity to reset to what is going right in the situation and to pull out the greatness. Every single moment we can reset to that.
Yes, I love that. Somebody said, gibberish is a good way to be funny. Please type in your name.
That's good.
And we talked about that, I think 2 weeks ago, because I was saying that sometimes trying to get the children's attention, I would just go, and they would look at me like, what? And if I would have said in plain speak, I need your attention, everyone please be quiet, they were ignoring me. But if I went, they all stopped talking because they were wondering what is happening.
That's I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
So it is Liz that is saying all of these wonderful comments.
Oh, Liz. Oh, yes. I told you, Liz, you could be up here doing this. Okay. So now what are some things that you can do that just really on the spot, little things with the kids? First of all, there's always breath. Always breath. Yours and theirs. Put your hand on your heart. Put their hands on their heart. Breathe into your heart. And breathe out. It is the ultimate reset. You don't have to make a big deal about this. There's a whole method of meditation called heart rhythm meditation that I teach, but I want to tell you, at its most simple, breathe into your heart. It resets the nervous system and everything, and it feels good. You can put, you could make up a special name for this, the pause, not the pause that refreshes, but something like that, just, you can make up some, we have creative people in this audience, you'll figure it out.
Is this an okay moment to interrupt you for a minute?
Yeah.
So that always reminds me of a story that Dr. Becky Bailey told. And it was on she uses the stop, take a deep breath and relax. And just when you think, like, are all these things that I'm doing making sense to the children? They will always show you that it does. And she talks about a time when a situation happened in a classroom, and before she could even react, one of the children picked up the star and went over to the child that was out of control and held the star over that child's head and said, breathe with me.
That is beautiful. I love that. Can you imagine? So here we have in the holiday season, a lot of people have lights in their home, whether it's the Hanukkah candles, Christmas tree lights. And you could talk about bringing, yeah, let's just bring the light from those Christmas trees, into our hearts. You can just riff off that, like what makes sense for them right in your environment. Or even, we talked about the child who might be overstimulated by all that. Can we bring that into our hearts? Anyway.
Okay, we do have about 5 minutes.
Okay, we're almost done. Good. Okay, real quick. Humming. Singing.
Oh, yes.
Humming, 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 humming. Humming resets the nervous system.
Yes.
And singing too, but humming. Everybody can hum. Very few. I don't think I've met very many people who are self-conscious humming. Have you, Marianne?
No. And the other thing is, John Campbell in his book, The Mozart Effect, talks about the benefits of and that humming actually vibrates all the bones in your head. And that's why it's so helpful for calming.
That too. And the most recent, all the work on polyvagal theory that's come out from Dr. Stephen Porges, humming is a great way to pull us into that social engagement network. That part of our social connection network that's not in stress. So humming is a good way to pull out into that part of our nervous system that's safe, calm,
yes,
available for connection. And look, what are we trying to do in the holiday season, really? And in a lot of ways, it's all about connection, isn't it? And the troubles with connection, not being able to, and we all get messed up on that. So there's lots of ways to connect.
Yes. So we just had Joe Herzog join us today. You can't see his name up there, but he always has interesting comments as well. I love all these things that you shared. I put the list in the comments so that they are there.
I bet people listening we already have great ideas, but I know create a go-to breathing game for small children. I have one.
Yeah. Yes, you wrote that. That's Liz. Of course she has one.
Of course. And I'm giving you general ideas, and I'm talking to a group of early childhood parents and educators. You guys are creative. I'm just giving you the little touchstones, you know what I mean? And you can fill this out with your creativity. I'm not giving you the right way to do it. I'm just kind of pointing my laser or my finger at with language, like what the map is and the issues, and sometimes it's just helpful to hear the words, to put our experience into those words, like, oh, that's what's happening to me. Okay. And then you can go to the next step.
Right. And be mindful that these things happen all year long, but they seem to heighten during the holidays. And it's mostly because of our adult expectations. And if they see us always getting hyper when it's time to have family over for a holiday dinner or a birthday celebration, or getting hyper about, did I get everybody's presents? Oh my gosh, I haven't wrapped the presents yet. What am I going to do? Then that's what their behaviors are going to be like when they are an adult. And so we have to really be mindful that we are the list, so to say, for the children. They're going to remember how we behaved, and those are the skills we pass down.
You know what? I can't believe I didn't say this. Have fun.
What? During the holidays?
I know, why didn't I have that on my list? Oh my God, right? Your list should be on the wall above where parents sign their children in for school. Well, go for it. Do it. That's wonderful. Right. I'm not in your school, whoever, Liz, I don't know, but yeah, spread the word, boy. I don't have any special knowledge that, just We all, I think a lot of us know this stuff, but we have to be reminded and we forget. And we have this whole emotional landscape inside of us, and it's not our enemy, but sometimes we just have to be like, okay, we just have to take it, some mastery of ourselves, by the hand and say, all right, I can cope. So even this talk, Marianne, she reached out to me to do this talk, and I thought, what do I have to say on this topic, right? You know what I mean? And she believes in me. So
I do.
she set the emotional tone, and then with that, I thought, well, I can cope. I didn't say those words, but I thought, all right, I'll just do it. So I put she set the tone. I took this mindset like, okay, I'll figure it out. Like I knew somehow I'd come up with something, and I did. So here we are.
And someone's giving you homework.
Create a meme, and we will share it here, there, and everywhere. Create a meme. You're giving me more work. Oh no.
I tell you what.
That's okay. Okay, cool. I like that. I better add fun to my list because I didn't put fun, and that needs to be there.
So let's end by talking about, why it's important of parents to be mindful, which I think I did just talk about a little bit because we are their so-called template for their behavior when they become an adult. But we are teaching children how they will handle all these busy times when they are an adult. And I think you said before something about, well, there's a saying, fake it till you make it. And so if you're stressed out and you can pretend you're not so stressed out so the children can see you just doing things and not being stressed, then eventually you'll start to really feel that way. It won't be so stressful. And an important thing is, I've been using this a lot from the movie Frozen, the whole let it go, let it go, let it go. You know what? We didn't go get our Christmas tree today. We'll go tomorrow. Not a big deal. And that's a really big thing to teach to children. It's not a big deal.
I know. I cannot tell you how many holiday celebrations I've been to over the years where I actually have not enjoyed myself because the people, putting it on or doing it responsible are stressed out.
Yeah.
And it takes away, it's like you feel for them, but it also completely takes away from the enjoyment. It just does. So it's better to be imperfect.
Oh yeah, there you go.
And relaxed. Your guests will, they'll, there's the poet Maya Angelou. She said, people remember how you make them feel, not what you said and did. They'll remember more how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
So I always come back to that because most of us, including myself, think, oh, I've got to do it. I've got to do this or this or that. And, oftentimes people don't even remember what you did. And I'm thinking like, I did all this stuff. Like, are they not even grateful? And then you feel resentment and all this, but it's really about what you give from your heart and how you make them feel.
Right. And we do have to kiss and keep it simple, sweetie. But the really important thing to remember is that children are usually activating those mirror neurons and being you. And so when a child is really stressed out, step back a minute and think about, what did I do or say in the moments before this happened that might have contributed to this child's behavior? And instead of always looking at it being from the child, maybe take some ownership as an adult.
There we go. Very good. I think that's brilliant.
So if is there anything else you'd like to say? I think that this has been wonderful. I think there's a lot of practical information here. This is for those that celebrated Hanukkah. We've now finished, Hanukkah is ending or ended last night. I forget which.
Yeah, tonight's the last night.
Tonight's the last night.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you say low key, but I have a lot of Jewish friends that stress over things like, oh, I don't think I have enough little presents to give out tonight. And it's not what it's about, or those that celebrate, Christmas, thinking about, who you have to buy gifts for, when actually the best gift you can give is not a present, but your presence. Be there. Just be there in the moment to enjoy everything and make memories. Making memories. Your children are going to remember, like you said, how you made them feel.
And I'll just end on this in terms of gift giving. I have to credit my son with this, because I have a tendency to always buy too much for him. He's an adult. He's an adult now, and I still can fall into that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he said, Mom, stop. He said, stop already. Stop this. He said, donate. If you want to give me a gift, donate to a food bank in my name. Donate to a charitable cause. I don't.
Who raised that boy? Good job.
Well, I didn't model it. I had an only child, so I kind of overdid it, and he just had some internal wisdom inside of himself that set a boundary for me. See, he was setting a boundary. Like, no, like, I don't need this. And then I don't feel great, then he didn't want to feel ungrateful because he knew it was with good intentions. So he turned it around. He said, if you really are so inclined, donate to things that I care about to make this world a better place. And that's an easy gift. That's an easy gift to do, You don't have to go shopping. You don't have to wrap it. That's easy.
Yep. And I know that quite a few of the colleges here in Florida, one of the things the sororities or fraternity groups do is they'll make a bunch of peanut butter sandwiches and they go down to homeless spots and they just hand out sandwiches.
That's bringing light. You see, that's bringing light into the world.
Yes.
That's it.
We all have to get more comfortable with that sort of thing, especially with, the holiday season. And we have to remember too, that it may be the holiday for you, might not be the holiday for someone else, but it's still a work day and it's still pain that someone might be going through because of something that's happened in their family, so not everybody is in the same state of mind, state of emotion, so have to be aware. We get tunnel visioned with the holidays. Everybody's doing this. Not everybody is.
I lied. I'm going to end on one last statement. Bring light, not perfection.
Yay! And on that note, we want to thank you all for tuning in. And I wish all of you a happy whatever it is you're celebrating. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I'm sure Dr. Kathleen will take a peek at this and get back with you. And you can always go to her page. Do you have a website or just your Facebook page where people can?
I do have a website. The best one is drfriend.net, www.drfriend. Oh my God, I don't know my.
You know what?
I don't know my website.
Go put it in the feed when we're done, so everybody can reach out to you.
drfriend.net. It's just drfriend.net.
That's simple. All right, everybody, thank you so much. We will see you next week Bye.